Hello, gorgeous human. How are you, my love? Welcome back to the Unstoppable You podcast. I'm your host, Evie, life and confidence coach and business mentor. And we're back with another juicy episode. How are you, team? It's so good to be back. Do you know what? I've been putting off this episode, this particular topic for some time now, and I am just lovingly calling myself out and holding myself accountable here. So I'm actually really proud of myself and excited to be here, but also really nervous to be talking about this topic today. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. I've just bullet pointed a couple of things down that I really wanted to share with you all today. But I hope you really like this episode and I hope it lands well. And yeah, I hope it's supportive for you. I mean, ultimately, this is what it's all about, is connecting with you all, supporting you on your unique journey, whether it's through life or through blending business as well. And yeah, I hope this serves you. That's my biggest aim here is to support and to open up this conversation, to have more real and honest, vulnerable conversations. This is a big part of why I started the podcast in the first place, way back in 2020. My goodness, some time ago now. And yeah, like this is what I'm here for. So I really do hope that this lands well, and I hope that this is supportive or inspires you or is thought provoking in some ways, or at very least it shares more of me and my openness and my vulnerability and the things that I'm personally navigating. And I share that to connect us all more. And yeah, if this is supportive for you, then that's amazing. That's my aim here. So I'm excited, but I'm also really nervous. I feel like I'm going to have a vulnerability hangover after this one in particular. Eek. Anyway, I'm going to fluff around if I don't dive in. So let's just dive into today's conversation. But first, my quote. Now, Momentum, my screensaver, has been performing very well, has been giving me the goods. And I just love how in tune it is with me at the moment. I'm really loving it. So today's quote is just so fitting. I was thinking about this podcast episode, hadn't got a quote ready, and I was like, okay, we'll just see what today's quote is. And of course, it is exactly what was meant to come forward today. So this is a Joseph Campbell quote, and it goes like this. Opportunities to find our deepest powers come when life seems most challenging. Opportunities to find our deepest powers come when life feels most challenging. Oh, isn't that a good one? It is so, so true. So true. And I feel like this is going to be so fitting for today's conversation, because I'm going to be sharing something that I've been navigating, something that I find challenging, and how I've navigated this, some of the ideas, the concepts that have been really supportive for me, and yeah, how I'm navigating this and supporting myself through this. Because I think that sometimes hearing other people's experiences of this is really helpful. Sometimes just sharing that we all navigate challenges from time to time. And even that I'm a coach does not mean that I'm void of this, and that life is still lifing and I'm still having a human experience in and of, of my own and my own journey here. So I think just like humanizing this a wee bit, but also, and yes, sharing that we all go through our own unique challenges, and whether or not you relate to this specific one or not, that's absolutely fine. But just knowing that other people are navigating their own stuff, so you're so not alone. And also that these challenges have so many gifts as well, that if you can see the meaning or the reason behind it, or taking the growth and the lessons from it and really strengthening yourself, or growing and evolving through that process. Like, we heal through what we go through. We heal through what we go through, that other quote, right? And I so believe this to be true, is that in those challenging times, in our deepest, darkest moments, I think that's when we really truly find our inner strength and our confidence and our superpowers. Like this quote has said, our deepest powers come from the most challenging times. And so just like challenging times are not yeah, like we're not void of them, and that we all go through our own unique challenges in life along the way. So that's a part of the human experience. And I also think that there's so much beauty and lessons and growth in there if we're willing to see it for that. Tony Robbins often talks about this idea. Maybe it was a Jim Rohn thing. Anyway, that life is happening for you, not to you. And that's to say that I think our job is, through those challenging times, is to find the lessons and the growth, to find the silver linings, and to find a positive meaning. And it's not necessarily to excuse all the challenges or the things that may happen in life, because there's some horrendous things that happen that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. However, if we can, allow ourselves to grieve and heal and release that, and also find meaning or find growth or find the lesson, I think, that's when life really, really becomes really, truly magnificent. And I think it really helps us to navigate those times. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive in, guys. I'm nervous. Okay. I want to talk about something that I find really challenging, and that it's come up for me from time to time. It's something that I think I'll be navigating for some time. Right now, it feels so much lighter. It feels so much more easeful. And so I wanted to talk to this and share my experience with this from this place. And I would offer this to you if you're in business as well, as to, when you're really in it, I think sometimes it's important to nurture yourself and be in it and support yourself as best as you can when you're really in it and feeling those things. And then at some point in time, if you want to, of course, it's totally your choice here, but if you want to and you think it's going to be supportive for your ideal clients or your community, or you want to have more of these conversations in your personal life as well, then at some point sharing that or speaking to that from a different standpoint. And I hope today gives you some food for thought and some support for you if you're navigating something similar or a version of this. And at very least, as I say, hopefully this is interesting and insightful, and you feel more connected to me in some way through my vulnerability and my openness and sharing and the leadership around this as well. So if I'm completely honest, at the very start of this year, I've had moments of this challenge for some time now. And it happened ever since I became a mother. So I'm just planting some seeds here now. I find it really challenging to blend motherhood and business. I find it really challenging to have these two desires and values of mine that are so strong and so important to me, and have like a huge vision for myself and my work and my soul's work and my business, and also being a mother and a really present mother and there for my children and having those beautiful relationships and bond and being their primary caregiver is also really, really important to me and a big value of mine. And it's almost like at times it feels like these two values and these two parts of me are challenging one another, are conflicting one another in some way, and they both require so much love and time and care from me. And I find that hard. And I think it's happened obviously in waves, and it comes in roundabouts, and there's times when it feels so much lighter and easeful, and then there's other times when it comes up again. And it just means, and I share this with clients all the time, is that sometimes it's just that there's another layer of healing, or there's another time where it's coming up because it needs some airtime again, and it needs some acceptance or some love, or maybe there's a few tweaks and changes that you can make to support yourself with it. Or, it's just another layer of it. It's not like, oh, here's this whole thing again that I have to start from square one again. No, it's just another layer of healing and processing this some more. So for me, it came up again at the start of this year, like really early on in the start of this year. And in hindsight, I can see exactly why, because I was in that new energy, new me, like feeling really expansive, really excited for the year ahead. I genuinely, and even before I was a coach, I'm genuinely one of those people that I'm really ambitious. I'm really dedicated. I am really driven. I'm a go-getter, and I love setting goals, and I love thinking about plans and dreams and desires for the future. I genuinely get really energized thinking about the future, and many of you here listening will probably relate to this at some level, and totally cool if you don't either. But I'm generally one of those people that love setting goals and intentions and planning and looking forward and thinking about the vision and feeling really excited and expansive about that and energized about that. So, of course, at the start of the year, I was sitting down, I did my beautiful oracle card spread. I did a meditation first. I did the 11 card oracle card spread, and it was so fitting and so perfect and spot on. I do this every year, and it just blows my mind every single time. I shouldn't be surprised at how supportive the universe is for me and how connected I am in many ways, and trusting my intuition here to share what I need to know and be reminded of. But that was really, really beautiful. And then I went into a process of planning out some of our personal goals for this year for me and my family and my husband, and then also through my business. And of course, I love that. And I get so excited about the things that I want to create and launch, and the depth of support and service, and yeah, just like being really ambitious in that way. And I love that. And so I got really excited. I had all these plans and dreams and visions, and I was writing it all down and mapping it all out. And then it kind of dawned on me a little while later, a few days later, in that first week or two, it felt really heavy, and it felt like there was lots of emotions around it for me. And I was like, oh man, it feels like I've got all these desires and dreams, and the vision that I have for myself and my soul's work is really big. It always has been really big, and it's really important to me. Like, this work really, really matters to me, and I love it so much, and it fulfills me in so many ways. And then I was like, oh man, but like, this is my capacity this year, because I also have a beautiful little baby girl, or toddler now, I should say. And we would love to expand our family at some point in the future as well. And so just knowing knowing that I really want to be a mum, and I really want to be a present mum, and I want to be her primary caregiver, and I want to do things like play center, which is essentially a parent-led daycare, which is, a big commitment, but a beautiful one. And I know how precious and how important these early years are, even though being a mum is so challenging and expansive and heart opening and all of the beautiful emotions. Like, it is a wild journey, and other mamas with small children will hear me on that one, I'm sure. But I love it, and I keep coming back to, no matter how hard this dance is between business and motherhood, I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And both of these things are really important to me. And so it brought up some of these feelings around, oh man, I feel like I'm limited somewhat in my business. I feel like I only have a certain amount of capacity this year, and yeah, that my timeline looks slightly different now, and that I can't work the same or run my business perhaps the same that I did when I wasn't a mum, when I was, essentially had all the time in the world for me. And I worked a lot in my business. I worked full time essentially, but I did a lot of hours, and I loved that. And I chose to do that. And and it was brilliant. And I think there's moments of like, and with any new season or any evolution, there's an element of like letting go and grieving what was in some ways. And it's a tricky one to navigate, of like loving that season of my life, but also wanting to become a mum and to be a mum and expand our family, and loving this season as well, but also missing parts of the old season, and that capacity that I had, and that I was able to, think of an idea, and or an idea to land in my business, and then to action it really quickly, and to launch it and to bring it out, or to be more moment to moment in the business a wee bit more, and have so much capacity, like endless capacity, not endless, but you know what I mean, felt like endless capacity to give to my soul work and my business, and to hold lots of clients and things like that. And so it's a really interesting one. So I think there's a part of that, of like allowing and letting go of what was, even though it was wonderful and there was moments yeah, even though it was wonderful, and I love that and miss that to some extent, but also knowing that I also love this season and I'm so grateful for this season, and really embracing and being present in this season as well. So there's emotions and a dance to play out there as well. But yeah, if they go back to the start of the year, there was some tears, there was some moments of journaling in my diary, there was moments in conversations with Brooke, my husband, and talking about how I'm feeling. And I just wanted to share this really because I think it's so normal and okay. And this is my human experience and my human, part of my journey as a human and as a business owner and as a mother. And I also don't have that many people in my personal life who are choosing similar choices that I have done in terms of my business and in terms of motherhood and things like that. And so it's just really nice to be able to share this here. And I do really want to share this in case that this supports other people. And yeah, as I said at the start, this is really just designed to support people and to share the realities of it and to share more of the behind the scenes stuff and the things that I'm now navigating and challenged by somewhat. And so, yeah, it's challenging. And I think there's moments where I've cried about this. I've felt really challenged about how do I do both of these things? And, as a high achiever, as someone who really cares, there's a part of me that really wants to do my business 100% of the time. And there's also a part of me that really wants to be a mum and do that 100% of the time. And you know what I mean by that? And actually just recognizing that I can't. And however, I think a really important part of this and something that I'm learning and leaning into, and yeah, something that I really wanted to speak to here in this conversation is this ability to have it all. And someone shared with me early on, even actually before I became a mum, was like, she said, I don't actually believe that you can have it all of the time. And that really stuck with me. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that at the time. And then now I see it as, I think you can have it all. And I think you can have it most of the time, just maybe not 100%. Maybe it needs to look slightly different. And also in the same breath, as I mentioned and was dropping a few seeds around this concept last week's podcast episode about being a perfectionist and letting go. Great episode. Go check that out if you haven't already. But I was really talking about how I think we need to be more okay with embracing that it's going to look messy and be messy and not be perfect. And I think this is the thing with, I know certainly for me as a mother, that's been a big part of my journey is kids are, they're beautiful, beautiful human beings and little creatures. And like we can't control them or the schedule, and things change and they go through different seasons and things pop up along the way, and we have to be really flexible and adaptive and go with the flow and accept and release and all of those sorts of things. So I think motherhood's been a really beautiful teacher for me in that, absolutely. But I think it's allowing it to look different to what it might have looked like before, or maybe just slightly different to what you sort of dreamed of it might looking, and accepting what is. But I think a big part of this is allowing it to be messy, allowing it to look, to not be everything in its little box or every time or, every day planned out perfectly, and allowing things to evolve and grow and to pivot and tweak and reshuffle things as you need to. And allowing that to be, like allowing yourself to be okay with that and embracing that it's messy. And I think if you do embrace that it's going to be messy, and accepting that it's this beautiful, big, evolving, messy season of your life, that if you do that, if you allow it to be messy, allow it to feel messy, allow yourself to be more fluid with it, then that's when I think we allow ourselves to have it all. Yeah. And I think there's, so maybe some beautiful conversations or journaling for you around that if that strikes something for you, and would love to invite you to do that if that feels supportive. But I really do believe that it's allowing it to be messy is going to be the thing that allows you to have it all and to do it all. Maybe not all at once, maybe not all 100% and 100% of the time, and maybe it looks like seeking support and outsourcing things, which I would highly recommend. Then, I think that that's the way that we can have it all. So Where to from here? Okay, so some of the other things that I really wanted to talk to here that's been really supportive to me is, and I think this is what really this was the crux of what I was navigating earlier in the year, a couple of weeks ago now, was like allowing myself to feel the feelings, allowing myself to cry, to release out those emotions. And it's only, through letting them be felt and heard and released is when we release them and let go of them somewhat. And so just allowing that process was really important. And I would offer that to you first and foremost, if that's where you're at. Then the second thing was like just coming back to what's really important, coming back to my values, coming back to what's important to me. And I think part of my own process with this, and this time round, maybe not so much in past experiences when this has been more heightened for me, but this time round just reviewing, okay, well, what if we made some different choices in this area? Maybe if we looked at different childcare options, what would that look like? Sorry, what would that feel like? How would that be for us? And just looking at the different decisions and different options that we had on the table in terms of our family dynamics, in terms of our financial position, in terms of our values, in terms of, just looking at things differently, right? So it's almost like reassessing, zooming out again and being like, okay, so our current choices, our current structure, our current support systems, the current way in which Brooke and I work and our times and where things are divided, etc. Like, what does that currently look like and how does that feel? And looking at some different options. But I think one of the really beautiful things of what I came back to, and it's not necessarily going to be the case for everyone, it might be that process highlights that there are a few tweaks and changes, or maybe in this season or in this year, it might look like maybe there are some different options to seek out more support, or to change the way that you're working, or to change some things within your business to free up some capacity and time. Or, it might just mean that the ratios and how you're working, it might be that you want more motherhood time. It might be that you want more business time, like whatever that is for you. I think that process helps you see those things and to check in with how do they really feel. If I was to try on that idea, it's a little bit like trying on clothes. It's like, okay, how does this feel? How does this fit our family dynamics? What would it feel like? What would it be like? And then it gives you some clues about your decisions and where to go from there. And through that process, for me personally, I came back to actually the way that we're doing our lives, the way that I'm working, the way that I run my business, our childcare options, our choices around this, and looking at the kind of child that I have and her needs and my desires, all of these things, our financial situation, our personal goals, our financial goals, the two different businesses, because we have more than one business, like really just evaluating it all, I came back to actually, I'm really happy with our choices. Actually, the way that it's working means that is actually ticking the boxes in terms of our values. It allows me to do my soul work. It allows me to work and show up and hold space and coach some beautiful humans. It means that, my timeline and my bigger vision looks slightly different, or it's on a slightly different timeline, and that's okay. But it also means that I get to be there for my little girl. It also means that I get to do play center and be a really present mum and create this beautiful home for ourselves and our family. And that is really, really important to me. Even though I find that challenging from time to time, that is absolutely something that's really important to me. So I think it's just really coming back to and being super clear on your values and being intentional about your decisions and how you run your business, how you create your business, and being really intentional about the decisions that you make and how you structure your business, how you structure your home life and the support that you have. And yet all of those decisions that you make as a family unit and for you personally and things like that, all of that is so important to come back to. Is this aligning with my values? Are my values still, am I still living intentionally in line with these values or not? Or is there a few tweaks that I can be making here? And I think this is really important, especially when we think about motherhood and business, and this particular combination for me is that I think it's really important to reassess this as time goes on. What I know to be true now, as from being a mother now for 2 and a bit years, is that the seasons change and that your little human changes, and it might be that you have more than one child, or it might be that other things pop up along the way. But what I know to be true is that it definitely changes. They grow and evolve so quickly, and their needs and desires change, and maybe yours do as well. And so just like coming back to review this, I think, is really important. And I would say the same with anything that's really meaningful for you in your life. And whether that's if you're dancing between and blending two different things. Maybe it's not motherhood and business. Maybe this is also, and I would love to offer this if you relate to this. I certainly know that I have clients that do, have different parts of their lives or different commitments and things that they do that require a lot of time and love and energy that are really important to them. And that sometimes it feels conflicting or challenging to do both of them, but they are both really important. And so just actively being intentional about, am I actually choosing these? Am I actively choosing these? And are they aligned with my values? So for example, it might be that you have an employed role and you're a mum, and it might be that kind of combination. It could be that you have two different jobs, or it could be that you have your business and another job that you love both, and that they both give so much to you in different ways, and they, both of them give you or align with your values personally. Or it might be just dancing between two different things or versions of yourselves or areas of your life or whatever it might be. So I think it's important to open up this conversation, because I think so many of these ideas, even if it's not these two combinations that I'm navigating, it could be a different version of this. It could be that you're navigating two different desires and loves and parts of yourself, and maybe they require a lot of you, and so it's this dance between blending them, or dancing between having and holding both of them. So I hope that we can extend this conversation out to relate to some of those other things, because I certainly know that that's a conversation that needs to be had. So the other thing that I really came back to through processing and journaling about this a whole lot more was that I can't not do both. I think that was my ultimate conclusion from all of this was that actually how we're doing things is actually meeting my needs, is actually aligned with our values, and is actually working for us as a family in many ways on all the different levels. And so that was huge. And then recognizing that actually, I had these thoughts, right? And this is what your mind and your ego does, right? It's like, oh, well, what if you just didn't do your business and you're a full-time mum? Maybe that would be just so much easier, because you could just focus on one and you could just do one 100% of the time. Right? I'm saying it in this voice because that's what it sounds like sometimes. You'll get me. Or then it's like, okay, well, maybe the other way. Maybe you just put her in full-time daycare, and you don't do, you don't have as much time with her, and you put her in care, and maybe that's what you want to do. And so then you have so much more time to work full-time in your business, and to really go after those things. And so for me, it was like it's funny now thinking back to this, but this is what the mind does. It's like, well, why don't you just do one or the other, or that you have to choose, or that you have to do it all 100% of the time. And I really just came back to, well, I can't not do both. And also the decisions that we're making are aligned to our values. And I have been really intentional about these. And this process has really strengthened that, really made me get more clear and just double checking that I'm being super intentional about this. And the other thing I wanted just to share here is this idea of the polarities, right? Is that this conversation is, and for me, it was both. It was, I want to do both of these values, both of these things that are really meaningful and really important to me. And so I'm making them work, and I'm choosing this. I can't not. And so it was always a conversation of both and. It was not either or. It was not one or the other. And so I would really encourage you to think about this. And I think this is life. There's polarities. There's these two things that can coexist. And I really believe, sometimes I think our mind is really challenged by that idea. It wants to have just one thing to focus on, and I'm going to do this 100% of the time, and it's just so much easier, right? I think our mind just wants to put everything in little boxes, and for it to be super linear and clear and all of those sorts of things. But we're humans and we are multifaceted, we are dimensional, we are evolving, and that's a beautiful thing. And we can have both, we can hold both. It's a conversation of both and it's not a conversation of either or. And as we start to embrace that more, we can start to lovingly challenge our mind, be like, actually, just soothing that inner critic thought of, actually, I can do both. It's not that I can work full-time in my business and be a full-time mum. That physically, I just cannot do that. But recognizing how I can do both and what are the things that I need to do to support myself to do both of those things, i.e. childcare options. How am I supporting myself as a human and self-care and the things that I need to fill up my cup and those sorts of things, my health and well-being. Also thinking about our conversations with my partner or with work, with my husband, and our personal goals as a family, our financial situation, his goals, his desires, and his business, how we want to work it, how we want to run our household, all of those sorts of things, right? It's just being really aware of that you can have it all, but it has to be dynamic. You have to allow it to feel messy and for it to be messy from time to time, and being flexible and fluid with it. I think that's really, really important here. And look, I think the other thing that I wrote down here earlier on my notes here that I really wanted to share was that just really coming back to my own inner knowing here and trusting myself, really connecting back to my intuition and trusting myself, my decisions, my path, my desires. And I think one of the things that's always been really supportive for me, I've shared this on the podcast before, I believe, and I share it again because I think it's so important too, is that my desires and my visions are mine for a reason. Not everyone has these desires and these visions, and that's absolutely okay. They will have their own version of that, their own desires, their own vision. And the fact that I do have these desires and these visions means that it's mine, means that it's part of my life journey. It's part of me. It's a part of my path. And if I didn't have the desire and the vision for it, then it wouldn't be mine. And so the very fact that I do means that it is mine. And so just really coming back to that trust of, I want to do both. I can do both. How can I best do both that serves me, my family, that's aligned with my values, that's not burning me out in the process, that's really supportive, and what are my unique decisions and choices around this that it's going to allow me to do that. And I think, that's been really, really empowering and supportive. And so I speak now from this place of, like, I feel really good and at peace with it at the moment. And it's almost like I can look back and smile at myself some weeks ago, who was so in the depths of like tears and like, oh my goodness, I love these both things. How can I do it? And oh my goodness, maybe I have to do one or the other. And these are all the thoughts that were really coming up for me at the time. And again, sharing this to validate you, to say that it's okay to have these moments and to feel the feelings and to process that. And I think it's wonderful to have these moments that it comes up for a reason, another layer or another, like checking in. Am I in alignment? Is this working? What other support do I need? What are my priorities? Am I living in harmony with my values? Is there little tweaks and shifts and things that we can make here to support ourselves? All of those sorts of things. And so, just recognizing it. But I come back to, like, I smile at that thinking, oh, like if only she knew what she knew now. But in many ways, I knew what I knew back then. I've journeyed through this before, but I think it was just the power of holding space for this, holding space for myself, allowing myself to feel those feelings, meditating, journaling, talking this out with my special people, and ultimately just coming back to what's really important to me and coming back to my intuition. And it's actually been really reaffirming to me, like, okay, yes, I have the vision to do both because it is mine. I'm allowed to desire both. I can do both. I can have it all, but I have to be okay with it being messy and being fluid and being flexible with it. I'm going to let it evolve and grow. And it means that I might pivot and tweak things and refine things within my business. Amazing. Yes, we should be doing that from time to time when we need to. It might look different as our family expands. It might look different as I grow, as our family grows, as, but I think it's really important to keep coming back to your values, your priorities, making really intentional decisions for yourself, not looking necessarily at everyone else for what everyone else is doing, because your version of this is yours. And I think that's the other thing I feel like I really want to share here, is that my decisions is not necessarily the right way, and certainly not necessarily how you should live your life. This is purely my personal experience. I'm sharing with hope that this inspires others, I hope that this is supportive for you. But the biggest thing is just feeling empowered and trusting yourself to come back to your version of success, come back to your values. What's really important to you? What are your priorities? What is the vision? What are the desires? And really claiming and owning those things, being really solid in those things, and then making really empowered, intentional decisions around how you can meet those values and those needs. What needs to happen? What is the support that you need? How can you outsource? Like, what does that look like for you personally? My situation is not the right situation. It's the right situation for me personally and my child and our family and our dynamics, but it's not necessarily the right way. So really just coming back to what is that for you? What is that for you and your family? What does that look like for, these two things that you love, no matter what it is, those business or work or other project or desires or other work that you do, or family, or whatever commitments it is. Regardless, you can absolutely have it all. And just coming back to what's really important to you ultimately, and trusting yourself, and really building that beautiful, loving connection with your true self. Anyway, my loves, I hope that's helpful. Really hope that's helpful. I'm at the end of the podcast where I'm like, I don't even know what I said, but I hope it's great. When you go into the void and you go into the vortex rather, and just share from the heart. But please let me know if this is supportive, if this has helped you in some way. And I'm really looking forward to all the conversations that happen after the podcast episode. Always the best ones happen afterwards. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear if this landed, if this resonated, what you're navigating personally, what are your two big loves and desires. And maybe there's more than two, and that's also okay. And here for all those follow-up conversations. If you want to chat through it, please do send me a DM on Instagram. It's probably the best way to chat, or email me, pop a thumbs up or comment below if you're watching over on YouTube. That would be so supportive. And send this to your loved ones. If you know that this is a conversation that someone else in your world would need to hear and could really benefit from, I would be so grateful if you could share it with them. All right, my loves, I will leave you to it. Enjoy. And I'll talk to you again really soon.